Thank you. Mr. Matheson, one issue I've talked about from time and time again is the need to be able to build up our nation's infrastructure. You talked about this in your statement. What issues are rural co-ops facing with regard to permitting and infrastructure build-out? If we're going to go to all-electric vehicles, we have to have capacity. And so are these permitting hurdles, are they applied equally to no matter what's the generation is, whether it's renewables or whether it's fossil fuels? And so what are those challenges?
Well, it's a great question, and as I said in my oral testimony, if we're going to pursue any type of transition, we have to be thoughtful about how we can do this and have appropriate time. And sadly, when it comes to permitting, time is a problem. And you've, I'm sure, heard story after story about the length of time it takes to have, whether it's a generation project, whether it's an electric transmission line permitted. There's been efforts and talk about streamlining in Congress for years about this, but we don't seem to be solving the problem. Right. I'll mention a particular transmission project we're involved in the Wisconsin area. It's the Cardinal Hickory Creek transmission line, where it's at over 103 miles of high voltage transmission line. 1.3 miles crosses federal land. And between the state and between the rural utility service at the federal level and between the regional transmission operator, MISO, it's taken years and years and years to get this transmission project built. And this is one that everyone thinks is a good idea. Everybody, wherever they are in their politics or whatever they think about different types of generation, right, they all agree this transmission line ought to get built. And you'd like to think we could have a matter-of-fact conversation about the trade-offs of siting this facility and what the risks are and how to mitigate those risks in a timely way. But that's not the way the process works anymore. There's a lack of coordination across agencies. There's a lack of timeliness in terms of how we can get things done. And there's too many opportunities for people to throw a wrench in the gears and stop it. I know you've looked at opportunities, try to streamline opportunities. Right. I really appreciate that. But I can just tell you from representing a group of 900 co-ops that are actually in the field trying to make things happen, the frustration's palpable and it's real. And wherever we go with our energy future in this country, this question of siting facilities is going to be part of the answer, right? Right. And so I do think we have to stop just pointing out examples like I've just done and come up with solutions where we can have a credible, reasonable, thoughtful approach to getting facilities sited in a timely way.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one federal decision you were talking about, if we can get that running smoothly, it's certainly projected to be able to save time, energy, and at least get an answer. I mean, I've always said, if the answer is going to be no at the end, tell me no in the beginning, right. So I can make the adjustments that I need to make rather than drag it out, cost a lot of money, and cost a lot of time. Let me ask you quickly on global supply chains and domestic and international. How is this affecting your co-ops? What are you seeing? I mean, obviously the price of building and building out, but what are you all seeing throughout your rural co-ops in terms of supply chain issues?
Great question, and it's a big problem. And it's for basic materials. It's across the board. It could be for transformers. It could be on our broadband side for fiber optic cable, conductors, just basic stuff to keep the utility running on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. We're seeing great extensions of lead time to get these types of materials, let alone cost increases. Our concern is that as inventories drop, we may be one major storm event away from where we don't have the supplies to bring the system back online in a timely way. Mm-hmm. I get that supply chain concerns are on all sectors of the economy right now, but the electric sector, which is so vital to the day-to-day actions in our economy, we're feeling the pinch in a big way. I can tell you quickly on co-ops, some co-ops already had supplies that were primarily domestically sourced. They haven't faced the same challenges as some who had foreign source supply. We're working within the co-op world. We have supply chain co-ops that band together to try to find supply. But I can tell you, this is a significant challenge. It's not unique to co-ops. I know in the investor-owned utility and municipal utility, I talked to the heads of those associations. Yeah. They're feeling the same squeeze.
Right, right. I mean, I think it's up and down, whatever yeah. business you're in. We just had a school that had an estimate of what it was going to cost to rebuild from a 2016 flood. I just read they have to redo all their plans because they can't afford what the new yeah. cost figures came in. Ms. Sagama, thank you for coming. I'm sorry, I did read your testimony. I'm sorry I wasn't here for it. Let's talk a little bit about what are the top issues that small oil and gas producers are facing right now and what how can we remove some of those barriers? And the chairman talked about methane, and I'd like to give you a chance to talk about what your industry's doing in terms of capturing methane emissions and how the improvements have been moving along.
Sure. We have taken voluntary measures as well as complied with regulations that require leak detection and fixing of any methane leaks. We have significantly reduced flaring of natural gas. And flaring is really necessary when you don't have the infrastructure in place to capture the natural gas off your oil well. So lack of pipeline capacity and a purposeful policies and opposition from environmental groups to natural gas pipelines are meant to ensure that we can't move forward with oil and gas development here. Because if we can't capture that methane, we can't even put that well in place. So that's one of the things that is definitely holding us up is lack of pipeline capacity.